The world's relationship with the British royal family is a complex tapestry woven from threads of awe, tradition, criticism, and an insatiable, often intrusive curiosity. We are presented with a curated pageantry, the glittering carriages, the immaculate uniforms, the practiced waves, and the stoic silence in the face of unimaginable scrutiny. For decades, the unofficial motto seemed to be never complain, never explain, a fortress of decorum that protected but also isolated. It was within this centuries-old context that a single, unscripted moment from Prince William, the future king, resonated with such profound depth. It wasn't during a grand state banquet or a pioneering Earthshot Prize ceremony. It was on a rainy day in Wales, beside a simple wooden shepherd's hut, where the Prince of Wales, in conversation about mental health, briefly let his own guard down. This was the heartfelt moment the world needed to see, not for its drama, but for its devastating humanity, its symbolic shattering of archaic norms, and its quiet promise of a changed monarchy.
To understand the seismic nature of a royal expressing vulnerability, one must first appreciate the gilded cage of emotional suppression they inherited. The House of Windsor's 20th century was marred by tragedies, often exacerbated by a refusal to publicly process emotion. The abdication crisis, the marital unravelings, and most poignantly, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, a cataclysm where the Queen's initial stoic refusal to publicly grieve sparked a rare wave of public criticism. The image of a young William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin, their faces masks of bewildered agony, is seared into global memory. They were taught, by tradition and circumstance, to endure, not to emote. This culture created a dangerous paradox. The royal family, as patrons of hundreds of charities dealing with human suffering, were seen as compassionate yet paradoxically impervious to the very human emotions they advocated to normalize. They were icons, not individuals. As William grew into his role, he and his brother, alongside his wife Catherine, began a sustained campaign to champion mental health awareness through Heads Together. The message was revolutionary for the institution. It's okay not to be okay. Yet the messengers, while sincere, were still somewhat distant, advocates rather than fellow travelers. The public wondered, would they ever truly show us what that struggle looked like?
The setting was deliberate in its simplicity. In 2023, Prince William visited the coastal community of Aberfan, Wales, a place forever marked by the horrific 1966 mining disaster that took 144 lives, most of them children. He then traveled to a farm in Snowdonia, participating in a walk-and-talk session with local farmers, a group suffering one of the highest rates of suicide in the UK. The event was organized by the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution, RABI, focusing on the immense mental health pressures in the agricultural community. Seated on a hay bale beside the rustic hut, William engaged in a raw, unhurried conversation. The topics were heavy: isolation, financial despair, the fear of showing weakness in a culture of rugged self-reliance. Then, the conversation turned to personal coping mechanisms. In a moment of unvarnished honesty, William shared how the responsibilities of his role, the constant public scrutiny, and the weight of future kingship sometimes felt overwhelming. He spoke not in grand, abstract terms, but of the palpable pressure, the moments of doubt, and the conscious effort to protect his own mental well-being and that of his family. The specifics were private, as they should be, but the admission was public. His body language shifted. The usual princely reserve softened into the relatable fatigue of a man carrying a burden few could fathom. He didn't shed a tear, nor did he descend into self-pity. Instead, he offered a glimpse of the internal cost. He validated the feelings of the farmers around him by implicitly saying, "I understand pressure. I understand the feeling of being trapped by duty and expectation. You are not alone." This moment was not merely a news item. It was a cultural corrective with ripple effects across several the humanization of an icon. In an age of corrosive cynicism towards institutions and inherited privilege, William's vulnerability was a potent antidote. It dismantled the dehumanizing idea of royalty as mere figureheads on a postage stamp. Here was a father of three,
a husband, a son who had suffered profound loss, admitting that he too wrestled with his mental landscape. This shattered the us versus them dichotomy. His struggle, though contextually extraordinary, was emotionally universal. It fostered empathy where there was often only envy or apathy. The world saw not a prince, but a person, flawed, feeling, and fortitudinous in his honesty. For the mental health movement, from advocacy to solidarity. Before this, royal mental health work, however commendable, could be perceived as top-down advocacy. By sharing his own vulnerabilities, William transformed his role from patron to participant. He moved the conversation from "you should seek help" to "we all need to mind our minds." This is a critical shift in destigmatization, particularly for men and in traditional industries like farming, where toughing it out is a deadly badge of honor. His admission gave millions permission to acknowledge their own struggles without shame. If the future king can speak of his pressure, then
The British monarchy's survival in the 21st century hinges on its ability to balance mystique with relatability. The late Queen's unwavering stoicism served its purpose for her era, but the generations that followed demand authentic connection. William's moment was a masterclass in modern royal protocol. Respect the institution, but do not be imprisoned by its coldest traditions. It signaled a monarchy with a human heart, one capable of leading with emotional intelligence. This builds a bridge of relevance, especially to younger, globally minded citizens who value authenticity over pageantry. It showed a monarchy evolving from a distant symbol to a supportive presence, a testament to his own path. This moment also stood in stark, silent contrast to the very public struggles of his brother, Prince Harry. While Harry has used interviews and memoirs to detail his psychological battles, often framed within a narrative of conflict with the institution, William's approach was different. His vulnerability was not weaponized. It was offered as a gesture of shared humanity within the framework of service. It was a powerful, nonverbal statement that one can acknowledge the weight of the crown without rejecting the institution itself. It demonstrated a different, perhaps more sustainable, model of coping, one of gradual, careful reform from within, grounded in duty but informed by compassionate self-awareness. The moment's power is further amplified when viewed through the lens of William's personal history. The little boy who could not cry publicly at his mother's funeral has become the man who can openly discuss the emotional toll of his life. There is a profound circular healing in this. He is breaking, through conscious courage, the very cycle of repressed emotion that likely contributed to the immense pain of his childhood. In doing so, he is redefining royal strength not as the absence of feeling, but as the courage to face it and the wisdom to manage it. This also redefines the prototype of a future king. The archetype has been the warrior, the unflinching leader, the impassive sovereign. William is subtly crafting a new archetype, the healer king. A monarch whose authority is derived not just from constitution and tradition, but from demonstrated empathy, psychological awareness, and the strength to be vulnerable. In a world grappling with a pandemic of loneliness, anxiety, and political division, this model of leadership is not just refreshing, it is necessary.